Hello, YouTube. I have found a different place here that I didn't know existed. And, okay, for you younger people, you think Stever when bringing the world, animals and to you. My generation, Marlin Perkins and Wild Kingdom. Before that, there were the Johnsons. Now this is Martain and Oza, O-S-A. And he traveled with Jack London, and he was a cinematographer, back black and white silent movies, and he would bring them around, traveling around the country, showing them places where he'd been to, Africa, the South Sea Islands. They went, when he came to this area, he met Oza. He was 26, she was 16. She told him that she thought his movies were gross, I guess, because the people weren't wearing clothes. And a short time, they fell in love, got married, and started traveling the world together. And originally, they would be, it was billed as like Mr. and Mrs. Martain, Mr. and Mrs. Martain Johnson, or along the way, she ended up being in front of the camera a lot more. And Oza Johnson, Mrs. Martain Johnson, married adventure. And then here's another one, another poster from one of their films. And this collection is things they found or collected along the way. And it's been estimated that they shot over 1 million feet of film, and really brought the world to America. Brought so people that have never left their backyard were able to see men from Borneo and Africa, and I mean, they traveled all over and collected all kinds of memorabilia, as well as the films that they did. So I'm going to take you through here, and we'll look at some of the stuff. I mean, I'm not going to be able to show you everything, so, but I'll show you a lot. There is quite a collection of masks from all over Africa. As well as statues. Do you ever wonder how door locks work? Well, this would be, today's keys would be the same thing. And this one is a type of lock used by the Dogon and Bambara. So, pretty cool. Oh, I looked at that and went, what kind of leather is that? That's a hippopotamus skin shield by the Oromo peoples from the Sudan. for you musicians out there, there's some drums that the shapes may look familiar to some of us. As well as some of the jewelry. That's an interesting one right there, because it's something some of my nomad friends might be into trying to replicate and sell, because it looks like it's just woven grass into circles, into a chain, and obviously you can make it as long as you want. Now I had to skid up to the top of the stairs to show these. These look to be, I don't know, man. They're like 15 to 20 feet tall. I can't imagine trying to balance that on my face. Okay, a little background is they were both children of settlers who had come west, and he, at the age of 10, was when he first ran away from home. Then, while he was still in his teens, he worked his way to Europe, returning as a stowaway. And before he was 22, he was on his way to the South Seas with Jack London and London's wife on their sailing ship, the Snark. Upon Martin's return to Kansas, he showed films and his lantern slides of his adventures to admiring audiences. And Osa Leedy was an 8th grade student when she substituted for the ailing singer in Martin's theater program. She was only 16. They eloped 3 weeks later, and their adventure together began. I like this statue of them. So Martin was born in 1884, and Osa was born in 1898. So, like I said, she was 16, so it would have been 1914 when they met. So, get an idea of, it's like some old family photos. And I'm just looking at some of the pictures. Like here's one when they first got married, and here she is in that dress. And I'll have to show you in a bit. There's her wedding dress is down below. That dress right there. They had to take a size 2 wicker stand and cut it down to be able to fit that dress. She was not a big woman, but she was a beauty. And this is Osa in her wedding dress, and here's the actual dress. Like I said, they had to cut down a size 2 wicker dress for them and redo it to fit this, so tiny. So when they first got married, they took the show on the road and ended up traveling the vaudeville circuit, showing his films and of the South Seas, and they weren't doing great, but they were doing okay. Eventually, they were able to save up enough money to head west, and they got out to San Francisco and took a boat to the South Seas, and he wanted to come back with a film of cannibals. And we'll see how he did. This is some of the pictures from that expedition and others to the South Seas. And some of the cameras they use. I actually think I used to have one of those. It was my grandfather's. Don't know whatever happened to it. There's the menu of their send-off luncheon. Sort of cool. One of the things, I mean, nowadays, you don't think about, you know, all the big, you could hop on a plane, day and a half, be somewhere in Africa, be going on a safari, but back then, you had to ship everything in, transport it all into wherever you were going. You know, there was some outfitters along the way, but it was quite a logistical problem to get all that going. And while Martain was great at filming things and getting all that, Osa was the brains behind it all. She's the one who kept everything organized, kept camp running. Wasn't just behind the camera, she was in front of the camera, as well as chief cook and bottle washer. So she was really a lot of the reason they were able to do all that. Sort of a hometown for me connection is that in 1927 they another trip to Africa, and this time they were accompanied by George Eastman, and I do believe that's him, the founder of Eastman Kodak. And in this photo, I think that's him. Familiar face around Rochester, New York, where I'm from. They also took along 3 Boy Scouts. Now that's a great way to spend your summer back then, to be on an expedition with these famous travelers. Now, if you watch some of the old Tarzan films, you know, the Johnny Weissmuller ones, and you get the scenes with the scary animals, you know, stampedes and stuff. Yeah, guess who filmed those? the Johnsons. And they were able to get they got their licenses. Actually, here's their Aeronautic Association of the United States licenses to be pilots, and they bought 2 of these planes that set up to be able to land on land or land on water, and so they were able to shoot a lot of pictures that may look familiar from some things from the air. And they also were the first, I believe, to film gorillas in the wild. So I think I've seen those in the Tarzan movies. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of those again and see if I can pick some of that stuff out. Of course, for the local people, the cameras were a fascination, to be able to look into a box and see your friend, or, you know, but the way these would have worked, it would have looked like it was upside down. So, which is probably why this guy is laughing. They weren't just filmmakers, they were also authors, wrote a lot of books about their travels and where they were. There actually was a comic strip, would have been in the newspapers, and Osa wrote a lot of children's books There's her posing with a lot of them. And of course they had the merch to go along with it. So when they returned 1937, on January 11th, the Johnsons were lecturing at the Mormon Tabernacle in Salt Lake City. And the next day they took a flight, a Western Air Express flight to Burbank, California. On approaching the airport, they flew into a cloud and into a hillside. There's one passenger killed in the crash, and Martin died the next day. Osa had the most serious injuries of them all, of the other passengers, but her first worries were, where's my husband? And they didn't want to upset her. They told her, he's being taken care of. I guess she had a bad concussion, and they put Martin's body in a crypt at Forest Lawn until a month later, when they were able to bring him home to be buried. So Osa suffered a concussion and a smashed knee in the crash, and several weeks of recuperation. She was well enough to return here in a wheelchair for Martin's funeral. Within a few months, she recovered, anxious to get back to work, and she hired a Clark Getz as her business manager while she was still in the hospital. And eventually, 1941, so 4 years later, they were married. And only lasted a few years, but she continued to write and lecture, and on January 7th, 1953, she had a heart attack and passed away. That's 8 days before I was born. Anyway, but they did leave a legacy of films and knowledge of what the people, how they lived at that time in Africa or South Seas and Borneo, all that. By doing the films, we can go look back and see how people were living at that time and before Western civilization really encroached on them. So this is like a well-known picture of them, and with that I'm going to say goodbye to the Johnsons. And there is one of their films on YouTube that's one of the sound ones, and it's only about 48 minutes long, 50 minutes long, something like that. But yeah, so if you want, check it out. See if I can put a link down below to their movie, and if you get a chance, you get up here into Kansas. It's just, I'm about 2 hours east of Wichita, and come check out the museum. I mean, they've got a collection of artifacts like none I've seen anywhere else. All right, well, I'm gonna get back on the road and see what I can find. See you later. See you down the road, and be safe, my friends. Bye.